You know that feeling when you line up a portrait, the subject looks perfect, but the background just turns into a dull smear and you keep wondering why the blur isn't as smooth as you imagined? It's maddening, especially when you've already spent time tweaking lighting and composition. I ran into that exact frustration a few months ago, and that's why I'm excited to chat about a lens that finally seems to iron out those issues. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. I've been using the Canon Rf 85mm F1.2 L USM Ds for a solid stretch now, and the first thing that hits you is how the bokeh looks: soft, round, and almost buttery. That's not just marketing fluff. The DS asterisk coating really does something special with the way light is scattered, giving those out-of-focus highlights a creamy quality that makes skin tones pop without looking like a digital mask. One of the biggest practical wins for me has been low-light shooting. With an f/1.2 aperture, you can drop the shutter speed dramatically and still keep the exposure clean, which is a lifesaver at indoor events or when you're on a tight schedule and can't set up extensive lighting gear. I remember a birthday dinner where the candles were the only source of light. The 85mm let me capture the guests' smiles without resorting to a flash that would have blown out the candles. Another benefit that shows up in everyday work is the speed and accuracy of the USM autofocus. The lens reacts almost instantly when you half-press the shutter, and the focus lock holds steady even if the subject moves just a little. That's a real confidence booster when you're shooting candid street portraits, because you don't have to constantly chase focus and risk missing that split-second expression. The control ring on the lens is more than just an aesthetic touch. It lets you adjust settings like aperture or focus distance on the fly without taking your thumb off the camera body. I've found it especially handy when I'm filming video interviews. I can smoothly transition from a shallow depth of field to a slightly deeper one while the subject is speaking, all without stopping the record button. Chromatic aberration is another area where this lens shines. Canon uses a blue spectrum refractive element that really tames those pesky color fringes you sometimes see around high-contrast edges. That means you get cleaner edges on things like earrings or a bright bokeh, and you spend less time in post-processing cleaning up halos. The minimum focusing distance of just under 3 feet also opens some creative doors. I've been able to get tight headshots while still keeping a comfortable working distance, which is great for flattering perspective on people who don't like the camera getting too close. It also works well for product photography. You can get nice detail on a watch face or a piece of jewelry without needing a macro lens. Now, let's talk about a couple of things that might make you pause. The lens is definitely on the heavier side, so holding it for long periods can get tiring if you don't have a sturdy grip or a rig. It also carries a price tag that's higher than many of the mid-range prime lenses you see on the market, which means it's a bigger investment up front. Those are the two main considerations I've heard from other users, and they're worth weighing against the performance gains. Overall, the pros I've noticed are the stunning bokeh that gives portraits a professional feel, the ultra-wide aperture that lets you shoot in near-dark conditions, and the fast, reliable autofocus that keeps you on the mark. The cons, as I mentioned, are the weight and the cost, which can be a hurdle if you're on a tighter budget or need to travel light. If you've been stuck with lenses that just don't deliver the depth and clarity you need for your portrait or low-light work, the Canon Rf 85mm F1.2 L USM Ds is worth a look. It smooths out many of the headaches we've all dealt with, and it does so with a level of craft that feels like a step up without being gimmicky. Thanks for hanging out, and don't forget the link is below if you want to check it out on Amazon. Take care.